It's thinking. It's just as hot as we are.
No kidding.
All right, we're up.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Florence Hudson, and I'm Executive Director of the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub at Columbia University, funded by the National Science Foundation, as well as by previous grants from the National Institutes of Health and Department of Transportation. And we're so excited about this event today. It's very popular, so we're super excited that you got in. And it's about optimizing LinkedIn resumes and bios for your success. And you could be a current student, you could be a returning student, you can be a professional in the workplace, you could be retooling yourself for the future, you could be becoming an AI expert. There are all sorts of things that you could be going through in your life. And having these skills are really valuable for you. So our guest speaker today is Dr. Talitha Washington at Howard University, and we're super excited to get started. So next slide, please, Lauren. Before we get started, we do a lot of events at the Northeast Big Data Hub and the National Student Data Corps, which is one of the programs we lead at the Hub. The Hub currently has over 20,000 individual members in about 70 countries around the planet. Because we were forced to go virtual during COVID, it was a blessing in disguise. And the National Student Data Corps has over 15,000 people, mostly learners and educators, and they leverage our content around the world. What's very important to us is our Northeast Big Data Hub Code of Conduct. This is an environment for us to respect each other and be welcoming. If there's any reason that you feel uncomfortable because of some type of conduct infraction, you can actually send an email to contact@nebigdatahub.org, and Lauren or Emily are going to be putting the Code of Conduct link into the chat because we want to make everyone feel safe. So thank you for joining us and abiding by the Code of Conduct. Next slide, please. So first, introduce yourself in the chat. So for introductions, you can put your info in the chat. I saw a bunch of you doing that already. Great job. You know, your name, your school or where you work, what you're studying or what industry you work in. You could even say, ooh, I wish I could go to Columbia University in the future or to Howard University or whatever. And then maybe other people who there would be like, oh, here's my LinkedIn. Why don't we connect? And put your LinkedIn if you can. And that would be wonderful. If you have questions for Dr. Washington, we'll ask you to use the Q&A feature in the Zoom window. So chat like for chatting, and then the Q&A that we want Dr. Washington and our new guest speaker who just joined us today, Pamela Dunn from LinkedIn, they'll be able to answer your questions in the Q&A. So you'll see like a little box at the bottom with a question mark in it. That's the Q&A box. Next slide, please. So a little bit first about Dr. Talitha Washington. She's Executive Director of the Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics at Howard University. She's also the Sean McCleese Endowed Chair in Computer Science, Race, and Social Justice, and Professor of Mathematics and co-chair of their AI Advisory Council at Howard University. She's past president of the Association for Women in Mathematics, and she previously served as a program director at NSF, which I think might be how we first met Talitha. I'm trying to remember. Could have been before that. Her research includes applied mathematics, dynamical systems, nonstandard finite difference schemes, data science, artificial intelligence, and education. So she has a plethora of knowledge and interests. And so she's a role model for all of us. Next slide, please. Now about Pamela Dunn. She's an enterprise account director at LinkedIn. She was previously a regional director of development at Wheaton College and previously the associate director of bridge partnerships and programs at the University of Chicago Graham School. She has experience in community outreach like this, a nonprofit management, public affairs, and student affairs. So she cares a lot about all of you and what we're doing here. So we're so excited she could join us today. So what I'd like to do now is to introduce Talitha and Pamela to start the discussion. And all of you, we're super excited how many people are putting things into the chat. We have over 100 things already. I know Pamela is super excited, and so is Talitha. And then the Q&A for contextual questions for our speakers. So Talitha and Pamela, thank you again for joining us, and take it away.
All right, great. So what I'm going to do is for about the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about some ideas for LinkedIn bio and also resume. And then we're going to have a Q&A chat with Pamela Dunn. of LinkedIn so we can get some more information about how to spice up our LinkedIn to be attractive to employers, potentially funders, opportunities, and perhaps an entry point to the world, if I may. Unfortunately, I'm unable to send messages to everyone in the webinar chat. For some reason, I don't have that functionality. So you got to put something in the Q&A. And so that's why I sent that message to you, Emily. Anyway, to share with everyone. So I may shoot you some text, Emily, if that's okay, to share with everybody else, because I'm on the other side. So as we go along, and if you have some questions, please either put them in the Q&A. You can ask, and we will definitely get to them. Don't worry, because we really are here for you and for your success as you go through life. So today we're going to be talking about optimizing LinkedIn CV and bio for your success. Now you have to define success for you. I can't do it for you. You're the only person who can determine what is successful to you. But I'm assuming that you have goals, whether it's a job, so you can eat. I like to eat. I like shoes and technology. Or if it's for, I just want to convey myself better, or I just want to be more connected. Well, there's going to be something in here for you. But everything I say, this is what I think, this is what I do. And as I'm talking, I want you to formulate an opinion or an idea about what you like and how you like to approach it. And so this is definitely not a do exactly as I do. This is hopefully what I'm saying will inspire you to think about things differently in new ways. And before I get started, all the opinions, findings, or conclusions in this presentation are my opinions and don't reflect the views of any organization. So if you like what I say, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. Love for you to have opinions, because at the end of the day, this is your pathway that you will travel on, and we all have different paths to take. And I will tell you, my path is definitely a nonlinear one. I actually went into undergrad thinking I was going to major in engineering. I'm originally from Indiana. We have a lot of engineers in Indiana. So I went to Atlanta to become an engineer. Well, the engineering program was 5 years. It was 3 years there and 2 years somewhere else. And I said, that's just too much work. So I chose a major that I thought was the easy major that didn't have a lab. That was mathematics. I minored in Spanish because I just came off as a study abroad in Costa Rica. And that's how I chose my major minor. What does that mean? Whatever you have in front of you, just do what's great there. Do the best that you can with that at that particular moment. It will build. It's blocks that will build. And sometimes you can't see the future and where it will go and how it will go. And so currently I serve as the executive director, Center for Applied Data Science Analytics at Howard. And I did not have any, I'll say, formal, whatever that means, educational training in data science. I do dynamical systems, differential equations, and I'm also curious. So if you lead with curiosity, trust me, the knowledge will come, and so will the opportunities. And as I had mentioned, I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana, and I never really thought that I would become a doctorate of mathematics. It was just kind of one thing led to another. Went to undergrad, finished that, went to grad school. So you just never know. And so this is just a picture. That's me in high school. And I went to the Christmas dance. It was my sophomore year with, I got to get the hair back. Guy Philip Lawrence. And, eventually I grew up to be a mathematician, and he's on the stage with Bruno Mars. So you never know what you'll become, and you never know what you're going to do. When I started at Spelman College in Atlanta, I was not the top math student. So don't be misled in thinking that you have to have straight A's, or you have to have some stellar, clean academic record, or you can't fail, pick it up and move on. Trust me, I failed a lot, and I continue to fail, but you know what? You fail, you learn from it, and you grow. So when I first entered Spelman, I tested into Pre-Cal 2. I didn't know matrices. And then my second semester, I took Foundations of Math, which is a proofwriting course, which is hard, so I withdrew it. I took it a year later, and I got an A, but at that time, I was failing. I was failing really hard. That to say that sometimes you'll hit sticky points in classes, and you're like, wait, I just can't do this right now. I'll get what I need to learn, be prepared for it, and then take it later. So I have not Definitely not a linear path. You have to find your own. But I really did enjoy my undergrad, anywhere from playing in the Morehouse marching band, did a semester in Mexico where I took probability, linear algebra, and just really had a great time. My undergraduate advisor forced me to apply to grad school, so I ended up going to University of Connecticut, where I got full funding, meaning I got full tuition and I got a research assistantship. I was a Packard Scholar. And when you think about the PhD, when you're an undergrad, you hope that your tuition's covered. When you're a PhD, your tuition's covered and you make maybe minimum wage, but it really is an investment in the future. And the PhD is about pushing that boundary of knowledge. That inner circle, that blue, you can think it's kindergarten. And then as you go through the educational levels, you get more and more knowledge. PhD, you make a contribution, a bump. So that's kind of how we see it. And so when I was getting my PhD, it's kind of like, well, what are we going to do? What are the pathways? Let me tell you, there are a ton of pathways. No one pathway is right. No one pathway will lead really to a dead end. It's about being flexible and agile. So you could think about academia, teaching, administration. There's private sector, consulting, investment. There's government, nonprofit. There's a lot of different possibilities. And some people go in and out of different types of positions based off of what they learned along the way. So you don't have to stay in one sort of job or job sector. So how did I get into data science? It was really kind of sure, I'll hang out and do some data science. So I just hung out with a friend of mine, digital humanities, helped co-lead a student undergraduate project, hosted StatFest, went to a number of workshops to learn, upskill, and just one thing led to another, where I was leading national programs at the National Science Foundation to fund and fuel innovations in data science and AI. So really, I would have not predicted this way back when. I was just going to the workshops because they were fun. I went to the workshop in Utah because I was like, this sounds like an interesting topic. We ended up publishing a paper that really served as a foundation for how do we think about training students in data science. And so when I entered the NSF, same thing again. I walked in and I remember my colleague and I, Karen King, we were like, what are we doing? And we were like, we don't know what we're doing. But you know what? We asked questions, we learned, we read everything, and we stuck together. We had a network and we figured it out. So my first year, I basically co-led the establishment of the first Hispanic Institutions Program, which was a $45 million program. Like, nobody does that coming in. So it really was, for me, a really fun experience to do that. My current position, I'm the executive director for the Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics. So I work across Howard University with the other institutes and centers, looking at research, looking at internships, and expanding those opportunities. And at Howard, we're I'll say pretty good sized school. We have over 14,000 students, 14 schools and colleges, from law school to medical school to everything in between, right here in the nation's capital, like a stone throw away from the National Mall. And we're federally chartered. So we were actually established by the US Congress. So my work really is working across the whole university as we're thinking about our data, analytics, and AI in education, research, and operations. So for our center, we have a number of faculty from across the institution, which is kind of conveys the diversity of data science and analytics. It really is folks from everywhere: education, pharmacy, English, economics, computer science. And it takes all of us really to make that data and AI engine go. In our program, we also have a master's program. So if you're thinking about graduate school or upskilling in data science, this is a fully online interdisciplinary program. And we focus on real-world applications. It is designed for professionals seeking to advance data science skills. Interested in learning more? Please check it out. And one thing that we hosted this past April was a symposium. And at the symposium, I'm showing you pictures of students presenting their poster, which is a great thing to do. If you have the opportunity to give a poster presentation, do it. Because number one, it shows your commitment to the field. Number two, you practice communicating science with other folks, communicating ideas with other folks. And number three, you get linked in with opportunities. And you can put it on your resume. So please, engage in poster sessions, go to symposiums on your campus, go to colloquiums. Even if you don't understand anything that's going on, go to them anyway. So what is this thing of data science? I think about data science with a goal of mine to extract useful information from a data set. Most jobs nowadays will require a certain level of data acumen because we're just bombarded with data. Let's just start with email data. There's a lot of email data in my inbox that I have to mine, literally. Sometimes do a cluster analysis on it. But there's a lot of data in everybody's day-to-day job. And so when we think about, in particular, what does a data scientist do? The science part of data science is applying the scientific method by employing data. And of course, everybody loves mathematics, right? And for data science, you use a wide range of tools. So you can't just say, I want this component. You may have to flex and flow and go think about this end or that end. And so thinking about a wide range of tools, you just have to be flexible and say, okay, I can learn that. Or what is that about? And also third, it's about extracting insights. If you work for somebody, trust me, they're going to want you to extract something useful, insightful, and to be frank, to positively impact the revenue bottom line. Just kind of how it goes. And that's kind of fun. And really to extract insights is not trivial. It's not like there's only one way to do it. It could be multiple ways to do it, depending. And you also involved in data processing, calculations, and stories. Being able to communicate is the number one, I think, skill that folks should really focus on. I'm a mathematician. Let me trust me. They didn't teach us how to communicate effectively in math courses. Well, I can communicate a proof, but to communicate with somebody who may not understand some of the technical concepts, to communicate in a way that I could actually influence something, or I can gain useful information that may help me understand something, that's a skill that's learned. And so when we fail at communication, no worries, we learn from it and move on and do better. And then also thinking about solving business problems, because there's a lot of problems out there. Y'all got to solve them. Just how it is. So now everybody has the AI hype, we'll say, which is so fun. So we could think about AI as leveraging computers and machines to mimic the problem solving and decision making capabilities of the human mind, whether it's, hey, Copilot, can you write an email for me? Or if it's ChatGPT, can you help me plan my vacation? Or if it's, hey, car, can you drive me over here? Because I really am a terrible driver, but that's another story. Okay, so it's mimicking the human mind, the neuronal processes, which is all math, but we'll get into that later. But when we think about artificial intelligence, it's not artificial intelligence there. It really is humans at the middle of artificial intelligence, human using AI as a tool. It's not the left where AI algorithms, we're going to have a whole bunch of crazy robots, they'll take over the world. It really is the right-hand side where we are using AI as a tool. Now, if you replace yourself with AI, don't do that. If you just use AI to copy paste and you start being disingenuous with the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you're sharing, that can be a problem. Because trust me, people will find you out. But using it as a tool in a thoughtful, responsible way can really help in job productivity and performance. Now, one thing that I'm grateful for as I go along in this profession is the networks. One network that I'm in is the HBCU CHIPS network, which is a network of folks we meet every other week on a call Thursday morning. And it's from faculty researchers from across historically Black colleges and universities who are thinking about the CHIPS and Science Act. Not potato chips, but microchips. So microchips are in your phone, computers, cars, and that sort of thing. The idea of bringing the chips back. So when you're thinking about a job, obviously you're thinking about a job at a company, but you also want to look at some of the national trends. What's influencing the landscape about where jobs and technologies are going? If you haven't read the CHIPS and Science Act, it was in 2022. Read it. Read about the current trends in science, technology. Where are they going? What are companies interested in? What do they need? And see, can you fulfill that need? Now, one thing that I like to do, I like to challenge myself to learn new things. And then I also, every now and then, more often, now and then, I say, oh, I need to know more about that. Or I'd really like to polish up information about this over here. So thinking about upskilling, providing might I say, a syllabus for yourself where you can learn different things, where you have learning goals for yourself. You don't have a teacher or a faculty member or a parent or somebody else telling you what you need to learn. You create your own learning agenda. Oh, I really need this here, so let me upskill in that. And so in data and AI, there are a number of tools that people like: Power BI, Python, R, SQL, Tableau, and there are a ton more. It's not just one anymore, like in my day. I mean, I learned on Pascal. Who does that? Nobody. But anyway, that's another story. I'm old. But there are also a bunch of micro-credential programs that you may want to look into. If you do the micro-credential programs, learn something. I did interview somebody once, and I was like, tell me about the micro-credential program. What did you learn? And they were like, yeah, don't do that. But actually do it to learn. And I think they're kind of fun. So about a month ago, I landed in Reston, Virginia at the Microsoft office, and I didn't know what I was getting into, really didn't. I was like, sure, I'll show up. And I was like, oh, this is a training. Oh, but I quickly fell in love with the whole thing because it's all math. Look at the vectors, beautiful functions that has the neural networks going back and forth, and you have the outputs in vector forms. You're trying to predict, is this a penguin or not? It's all probability models. I loved every moment of it. It was amazing. And the other folks in the class, I'm not sure if they liked the math as much as I did, but it's all good. I enjoyed it. And don't worry, I did pass. It was earlier last week. I'll tell you, I had postponed it once. I was going to postpone it again, but it was less than 24 hours, and they were like, I was like, fine, I'll do it. I was nervous. I haven't taken an exam in like years, right? So that fear of failure, I know there's FOMO, but there's got to be a failure sort of acronym. But I was like, oh, what if I don't pass? But I was like, but I know this stuff. Why am I creeping out about this? So, you just sit down and do it, give yourself the pep talks. And again, I was nervous. It's one of those things, but it was great. And testing center people were fantastic and super supportive. So I really had a great time. So as you're thinking about different positions, you can also look at salary levels. When you see salary levels, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get when you graduate. You might have to get a job and then you start maneuvering around to the job that you want. I'll say this, my first summer in undergrad, I was really trying hard to get a job, very hard. I wrote my resume like everybody else does, sent it off to the HR at Bristol Myers Squibb in Evansville, and they said, do you have a career services office? I said, yes. They said, you need to go talk to them so you can update your resume. I was like, oh, I was so embarrassed. But that's exactly what I did. I went to the career services. I said, please help me. I need to update my resume. They helped me. I submitted it, and I interviewed to cut grass. So I was going to be cutting grass in the Ohio Valley heat. It's hot there. But when I went for my on-site interview to cut grass, which I really was going to go for, they liked me and they saw that I could be useful, and I conveyed that I could be useful, and that I was flexible. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was a pharmaceutical packaging intern who worked on the safe handling of cytotoxic compounds on the plant floor. It was great. And it was in air conditioning. I had a really great time there. So don't think that I have to get this one job. I was okay with cutting grass and then, just kind of stay diligent. What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? And ended up with, I thought, a really fun summer internship experience. So now let's maneuver into this whole idea of curriculum vitae and resumes. So curriculum vitae really means your course of life. If you're an academic or if you're a professor at a university or college, you're probably going to have a curriculum vitae. If you sneeze, you put it on there. It's everything. I think my CV is, I don't know, pushing maybe 45 pages. It's exhaustive. And it's in detail. But this is only used in academia. And people have examples of curriculum vitae that you can follow, that you can look, format, and it really does take care of putting it together. There's also what's called a resume. Resume is French. I learned Spanish and then, I don't know, I couldn't learn French. But it's a French word meaning summary. It's a summary of your career background, achievements, skills. It's in chronological, functional, or some sort of combined format. So usually if you're an undergrad, you can have 1 page. If you're a grad student, you can have 2 pages. And I think professionals, now I did it in 2. A friend of mine said that they couldn't put their ego in check, so they had a 5-page resume, but I got mine down to 2. So, and I think it took me about 5 months. So it's not trivial to do, and you really want to spend time thinking about it. How do you want to present yourself? So the curriculum vitae, there's no length limit. You could just keep going on and on, but resume, usually 1 to 2 pages. You can get away with 3 to 5, but that's kind of the preferred is 1 to 2 in the business sense. If you can't tell me what you did in 2 pages, what am I doing here, right? But then CV content describes everything. But the resume only summarizes only relevant education, relevant to that job interview. So there's a bit of that job description too, right? And so you have to read the job description to see what is relevant. Some things you want to keep in there, some things you want to take out, and you want to ask, if I'm interviewed, what sort of story can I say around my resume, from my resume, that would resonate with that job position? And then, like I said, CV is used mostly in education, and resume is used for professional industries. So let me just show you some examples here. I'm going to start with the CV. So a friend of mine sent this to me. It's at a workshop now in Rhode Island. And so I was like, can you send me your CV? Can I share it? He's like, yeah, sure, fine. And so notice here, he has his resume. He puts a bio on there. I don't have a bio on my CV. Sorry, this is not the resume. This is the CV. And notice does everybody see that right there? 71 pages. He's not playing. So when I say an exhaustive list, it really is an exhaustive list. It has all of your appointments on there, your external grants, and then he puts summaries of the grants that he has in paragraph form. Not everybody does it that way, but some people put more detail than others. But then also the internal grants, and then he'll have all the publications, referee publications in there. Everything's hyperlinked. This is done on LaTeX. If you don't know what LaTeX is, no problem. Usually mathematics, maybe some of the other sciences, we like to write typeset in LaTeX. But again, this is 71 pages long, right? So this, if you're starting out as a professor, you ain't not gonna be at 71 pages. I think he's about a few years older than me, so he's old. Yeah, it takes a while to build it up. Now for a resume, so here's my resume, just 2 pages, a couple things. I like to see LinkedIn's on resumes. I like to see LinkedIn links that work on the resume. Oh, nothing peeves me more than getting a resume and a LinkedIn link that does not work. Like, the link's got to work. But typically there's some sort of paragraph that kind of highlights who and what, keys, areas of expertise, and then some sort of layout. Different people like different layouts. I like the grayscale. That's just me. I usually stay away from a whole bunch of cute flowers and pink and all that stuff because it just gets in the way, but just format. And this was written for somebody who wanted addresses for each of the places. So another thing is where I work and where it's located, time, and you can see my, what is it called? Job titles and descriptions. And everything's like punchy descriptions with numbers, metrics, that sort of thing. But notice it's only 2 pages. I don't put everything on here. It's just 2 pages, right? And then depending on who I'm applying to, I may flex, different training certificates or different grants and gifts, that sort of thing. But then all just depends on who it's going to. Now, when thinking about a bio, we write bios a lot. We write bios on our LinkedIn, we write bios for conferences, we write bios for poster sessions, bios for a lot of stuff. Bio is an introduction of yourself to other people. How do you want you conveyed? You can put this on social media, websites, and they're written in third person. You want them to make a positive impressions that impact your professional success. And you will continue to fine tune them over time as your successes change. Typically, given the current day, people like short bios. People don't want to read a whole book about somebody. It's just TMI, right? Too much information. So when you think about a short bio, you want to basically, what's your name, your position, department, institution, your interests. You don't want to go on and on and on. You just want to have something precise. Tell me who you are, what you are. Now, there's one way to write bios in academia. There's another way to write bios for industry. So, and we'll go over those two ways. There's also a mid-length bio, which is a little bit longer and may have additional information like degrees, publications, notable awards, and honors for research. The long bio, I haven't seen much of that, nowadays. Back in the day, sure, but now people want concise language. Now, so just for an example of bios, here we go. I thought this was a cool website. So the MAA has a summer invited addresses, and these folks, I would assume, actually worked on putting a bio together. I'll put a link in the chat so Emily can share it. But you'll notice that when you create your bio, what you can think about is how did they structure their bio? So some people will, they start with their name. It's in third person. It's not I, it's this person. Terrence Tao, he even put where he's born. Some people put where they're born, some people don't. And they put kind of their accolades, that sort of thing. Another one I like, where's the one? Here's Tara Hone. She did an undergraduate degree in mathematics at Dartmouth College and her PhD at MIT. So the way that Tara is writing it, she's going in chronological order about her professional history. She's been an NSF postdoctoral fellow. Her research focuses on this. Just one sentence on the research, and tell me a little bit about your fellows and some of the other cool things you've been up to. So when you think about the bio, the academic bio really is a paragraph. And this website gives some, I think, good examples of the bio. Now, some people put family information in here. Some people don't. I think Hortensia Soto, Dr. Soto, these are all my friends, so she's great. So she put on hers, she's a professor. This is my title. In academia, we usually start with titles. Just what we do. But she ends with in her spare time, she enjoys hiking, snowshoeing. I don't know what that is. Practicing yoga. Yes. Meditating, spending time with the San Miguel. So some people will put like a personal spin at the end of their bio. That's up to you how you want to write it. But check out these for examples about ideas for what you can include in your bio. Now, we're going to transition to LinkedIn. First, I want to just walk into the storm, right? Some people have fears about LinkedIn. There's a lot going on. Some people are truthful. Some people are a little, expressive, we'll call it. And so sometimes we can feel like we're not doing enough when we see everybody's accomplishments. That is a resource constrained mentality. There is enough for everybody. There is a place for you. Your accomplishment, big or small, is your accomplishment. Always celebrate your accomplishments. So some people have fears about LinkedIn because you don't want to be judged or criticized, lack of confidence, lack of time. You got to put time in there. Okay. And then what do I post? What do I want to say? What do I want to project from my brand? What do I want to project from me? And then also privacy. Privacy can be a serious concern about LinkedIn. So some of the reasons about why people use LinkedIn, it's a good way to network. You're not getting jobs off of TikTok. It ain't happening. Recruiters will do data scraping over LinkedIn, look for your hashtags, keywords, and they will reach out to you. When I posted my Microsoft credential that I earned, I had so many recruiters come out. I was like, what is going on here, right? It's all good, right? So also they're companies of interest. You can see who's there, who works with them. You can connect with different people. You can join different groups and really just build your brand. I will say though, privacy is a concern. Now, I forgot to say on the resume, you're not supposed to post your home address. You can use your school address, but you can use city, state, zip code, and you can use that of your school, right? But usually you don't put your personal, I live on 456th Street sort of thing. Okay, and don't do that on LinkedIn either. So some LinkedIn examples, let me see if I can pull them over. Here. I'll just open up LinkedIn. So I know everybody's posted some really cool LinkedIns in the chat. So thank you for sharing. Couple of things that when I look at somebody's LinkedIn, and so this is mine, okay? And let me tell you a secret. Do you know that there are professional LinkedIn writers? So people actually get certificates in writing LinkedIn. So it's not like something you just wake up and say, oh, I know how to do it. People actually spend time thinking about what is the message, what do you convey? Now, for me, I like to see a banner. Put a picture in the back. It could be your school. It could be whatever, right? You can have a variety of what you have in your banner, but have something in the banner. Have a professional photo. I don't care if it's from JC Portrait Studios. They don't do AI. So if you want a real photo, you can go there. But but just get a professional headshot, right? And put it in there. This is one of my favorite. She didn't ask me to say this, but I love her website. And I don't know how she does it, but she actually has this changing up here, which I think is super cool. But she kind of has a picture. She looks excited. She looks branding, and she's kind of saying the things that she likes to focus on, right? And so you want to think about what is it that you want to convey. Typically in academia, we put our titles. Typically in business, we put the things that we provide. Like, what is it that we do? We're a leadership and career strategist versus being a professor, right? And then under the about section, that's where you would put your bio. Now, for mine, I just was like, do I do the industry bio or the academic bio? And I'll just do both. So this first paragraph is the industry bio. I'm a transformational leader and innovative, and my expertise spans this, that, and the other. So if you want that flavor, you get it in the first paragraph. If you want the traditional academic flavor, start at this word bio. You get titles, right? So depending on which sector you're in will depend on what sort of way you convey it. I always put disclaimers on everything. And then the other thing is when you put down, link your school, make sure the little image shows up. I can't stand that. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna get off of that. Make sure the image shows up, but put down your experience. You can start with, if you have your resume updated, just have that on one slide and one screen, and then just have the link to another screen and make sure they match, because people will look back and forth to make sure that they match. And you have your education here. You want to put your major. This is me, pet peeve. I want to know graduation year, but whatever. Nobody cares about that. So I put graduation year, and then you could put your credentials. That was that Microsoft credential that I got. I've been hit up by a number of recruiters just because of that credential. One other thing is you want to, your URL, if you don't personalize it, you're going to have those annoying numbers. So personalize your URL. Don't have the annoying numbers in your LinkedIn. Just hit the little pencil button and just try combinations that actually work and make sense. Lastly, I'll say is go on social media, Google search yourself, and make sure that your social media footprint is the footprint you want seen, because people will look you up on different social media domains and may make judgments about you, positive or negative. So make sure that the message you have out there on social media is the one that you want. All right, so I'm just gonna say on GitHub, because I want to get to the Q&A portion. To set up a GitHub is actually a really good thing to do. It's a way to showcase your work, your code, your output, and you can link all three together between your, maybe it's four, between your LinkedIn, your resume, your GitHub, that's three. You can link this all together because some people may want to see your data portfolio of work. And the place they would get or expect to get that would be in GitHub. So I would definitely think about that. I'll just show one quick example of that. Okay, here he is. So notice how, let me share my screen, make it bigger. Notice how again, this is just a random person online. He has his profile picture there. He has his welcome, here, your experience, education, and ways you can find me. And then here he has links to his personal page, work ID, and LinkedIn. So he probably has a link from his LinkedIn to GitHub. It's all connected. And if you want to see some portfolio of work, you can look on his GitHub. So get the GitHub. And again, these take time, but y'all got this. So I just want to summarize that you really want to think about optimizing your resume, content and format, add your current LinkedIn and GitHub links if you can. And then also think about elevating your LinkedIn profile. There's a YouTube video that will show you how to do it. Look at different examples that you like, and get to work and polish it. And then also maximize your GitHub profile to showcase your projects, organize your document work, and also you can put a bio on GitHub as well. So just some last words of wisdom here, some strategies as you move forward. Think about establishing robust social networks. Who's around you and who are you around? And sometimes that social network may flex and flow over life, and that's okay. Be knowledgeable how to evaluate opportunities. Some opportunities you may think are terrible, and guess what? They're probably the best thing. So be knowledgeable. How do I evaluate opportunities? And don't be so narrow focused that you won't take something that may put you in a better position than what you had originally thought or planned. And in thinking about taking advice, there's a saying, it says, take advice from those you would trade places from. So if you're looking to get to position A, who is in position A you could get advice from? You don't want to get somebody who's all the way over in left field. You want to get somebody who really has either been there, who has seen that. How do I get there? How do I navigate? And then also learn how the system works. Many folks get frustrated because they're like, oh, the world is against me, the system. Sit back. As a mathematician, I like to think about it from a systemic approach, dynamical systems. How is this working? Who are the players? What is what? What are the facts? What are the knowns? What are the unknowns? How is the system working? Once you understand how it's working and get the information, guess what? You can play. What do they say? You either play or get played. One of the two, right? And then also communication is a skill that's learned in practice. Communication is key. You need communication at job, you need communication at job interview, you need communication at every different facet. And with all of this technology, some are suggesting that communication the communication skill has kind of declined. So if you actually focus on elevating your communication skills, trust me, you'd be head and shoulders above a bunch of other folks. So just go for it, do it. And at the end of the day, have fun and do what you'd like. Like, I am a mathematician. I'm also an executive director of a center, but I fly planes. Not really, just kind of hanging out in the 737 cockpit. I've got some kids, and really the best part is when I can, give awards to others and give other people high five. That's me down there with the Association for Women in Mathematics, handing out awards. Love to see other people do well. And I'm a certified dance to fit instructor and step to fit. One day I'll teach a class. And we always say there is to have fun, no judging of yourself or other people, and to never give up. Things will get hard, things will be complicated. Don't give up, keep working at it, and great things will happen. And with that, I'm going to ask Pamela Dom to come on, and we can have a Q&A fireside chat here. And if you have questions, I'm assuming y'all have put them in the Q&A button. Great.
Absolutely. There are a number of questions in the Q&A already. You could choose to answer them out loud, or you can type your answer in if you think that would help, if you wanted to put a link in or something like that. That was wonderful, Talitha, so inspiring. Yes, we have to keep on going, whatever, just keep going, right?
Okay.
So would you like to answer
Should we dive in?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. I've had, y'all forgive me. So Pamela, you're at LinkedIn, and so really great. So y'all, we got a surprise guest from LinkedIn. So really great to have you with us here today. And so I noticed that on LinkedIn, people put that open to work swirl around, on their profile image. So is open to work, is that really a helpful filter or a helpful thing to do if I'm looking for a job?
Dr. Washington, thank you so much for having me on the call today. I thought you did a wonderful job just talking through careers and how they're not linear, as well as just different ways to stand out as you're looking for opportunities. When it comes to the open to work filter, it actually helps recruiters significantly. So turning on that open to work filter on your LinkedIn profile increases your likelihood of receiving outreach from a recruiter by 2x. And you can do that on the back end, so it's just visible to recruiters, or you can also use the open to work symbol. And we have about 49 million people currently using that open to work badge just to be able to signal to folks that they're interested and potentially receive outreach beyond just recruiters to let them know that they're interested in looking for roles.
Great, great. And so somebody asked, should we have a summary section, our resume, or is it enough just to put it in LinkedIn? Like, do we need to have summary sections in all of these different places? Like, what does a summary section look like on LinkedIn versus a resume?
That's a great question. And, Dr. Washington, I would be curious to hear your thoughts on the actual resume since, you did a great job of drawing distinction between CVs and resumes. What I would say is important for the summary section on your LinkedIn is you can be far more descriptive. So for Dr. Washington's page, it's almost more like an executive summary or almost like a shorter cover letter of sorts that tells a story about where you've been, what you're looking for now, and just a wonderful narrative opportunity to be able to kind of capture someone's attention. It's also a great place to put in keywords that you might want to make sure are highlighted when someone is doing a search for a particular candidate. So that's what I would say is the value of having that summary section. It can be, I would say, 40 words or more. And so on a resume, we're stuck trying to be really concise, putting a number in every line. For this, we can be far more descriptive and far more expository on our experience.
Yeah, that's great. And it will depend on your job. Certain jobs, you'll have a really short, brief summary. Certain jobs, you may have a longer summary. And certain jobs, you may have no summary at all, apparently. Whatever it may be that, I'll share my screen so y'all can know that I'm up to no good here. So this is Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. It's right here in the DMV. And so on his LinkedIn page, he has his family up there. He's showing family. Again, it's the industry feel of kind of what I bring, but then also he ends with his title, but there is no summary there. Just his experience in education. But there are certain jobs where you might not want a summary. It's enough to have that there. But note that he does have his contact information, so you can go to his website to learn more. And I would say that if you want people to contact you, put your email down. Don't put an email that you don't use. If you're going to have an email on LinkedIn, have the email. So it depends on your job, what you have. Certain jobs, they'll frown on a summary. Certain jobs, they'll want more. So find out who's in that job. You could do a data scraping of LinkedIn. I always say, pull at least 3 examples and then make a discernment from there. Yeah. Great. So somebody says, I feel like I'm overqualified for undergraduate jobs and underqualified for graduate jobs. How do I write a resume that gets noticed? I was laid off a year ago, but only had seasonal positions. So I need anything at this point. I know that's right. I'm with you on that. So whenever I'm thinking about resumes, what did you do? Give me some action verbs for your resume. What did you contribute? Did you communicate? One of the best jobs I had as an undergrad was a tutor. Why? Because I communicated complex ideas to my stakeholders, right? To my colleagues. And I could work in a team and I could work well with others and I could work with ambiguity and in different topic areas. So you can take a thing that you did and you may not be able to see how that thing could be a good thing. Talk with people. Say, I did this experience. What do you think would actually be valuable? Talk with your faculty. I did this. How do you think I could pitch it? What's a different good way to say this? Sometimes it's those small jobs that we overlooked. And as far as valuable, my thing is I want to work with a student who will be flexible and open to different ideas and not this closed-minded. And I'll take somebody who will be determined, who will stick with it, be on time, punctual, don't have to be perfect, but there's that I see a motivation. So I don't know, Pamela, if you have anything to add on that.
I think the things I would double down on, and Dr. Washington, I mean, really laid it out so perfectly, is I would strongly recommend starting to reach out to folks who are doing what you would like to do. I love when Dr. Washington mentioned asking for advice from folks who you would love to trade places with. Because maybe they know of an opportunity or they know of a person who you should connect with, and they know a person you should connect with. And that's what I think LinkedIn does really well. It's our whole intention, our whole mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So strongly recommend looking for other folks in your field or other folks who have graduated from the institution you're coming from, who are doing roles that you would like to do. I never turn a weedy down from a conversation. I never turn down a U Chicago grad or U Chicago student for a conversation, just because I want to be helpful. They're a student from a school that I'm an alum of, social workers, I'm a social worker by background. So just strongly recommend using opportunities to kind of ask someone how they got to the position that they're in. Also want to double down on what Dr. Washington said about the resume. The best advice I ever got from our career services office when I was a student was making sure that every line of your resume has an action verb as the starting word, and then making sure that in every line there's a number. So some sort of percentage or some sort of number of how many students you might have tutored, or how much you might have impacted revenue for this internship you were in. Just however you can quantify it, it just gives someone some sense of scope of what you were doing.
Yeah. And y'all heard that what she's saying in there, use your alumni networks. So if you find some alum, you can look people up on LinkedIn. Let's say if you're wanting to get into data analytics, do a search for data analytics. And then you can search for people who graduated from your school and you can connect with them, either first, second connections. So connect with folks. And if y'all want me to walk through that, I can, but use your network, use your alumni base. And then I also put a link, hopefully it was shared with everybody on GitHub. Maybe it's coming. So somebody asked a question about GitHub. I just kind of landed on this, not OrcID, this one here. GitHub Portfolios Workshop, where they actually will walk you through building it, and then some of the example portfolios. One of the portfolio examples I used today, and some ideas about what to put in there. Now, people will also have YouTube videos on how to do GitHub portfolio. So you look that up. Somebody asked, does it work for finance? It depends. There are finance jobs that are data, tech, AI heavy. Actually, my student got a PhD in math, went to work for JP Morgan. So there are a lot of tech jobs in finance. So if it's more of a tech-oriented job, GitHub may be appropriate. And so you do want to do your research, ask the questions. Is it appropriate for me to do that? So somebody else also asked about the OrcID. So the OrcID, it stands for Open Researcher and Contributor ID. Typically, if you're a researcher, you do have an OrcID account. And it's something that you can share with other people. I think I can search my name. When you apply for NSF grants, there I am. When you apply for NSF grants, it's all connected in there, NIH grants, that sort of thing. But it's a way to kind of basically put your resume on here. I think I probably need to clean it out, but you can have one if you want. It's free. Another one that's kind of, I think, more useful for myself anyway, is the Google Scholar, because my memory is so bad. But Google Scholar can actually do data scrapings for you to look up publications if you kind of forget what you published. I don't know who else does that, but but the Google Scholar, you can have that page, and you can claim it as long as you have like a Gmail account, and you can link your Google Scholar data. You can download your Google Scholar data as a big file and then upload an OrcID. I hate uploading all these things. But so they're all linked in, all interconnected. But those are some things you may want to think about as far as making. Let me see if I can get to the questions here. So it says, how do I put projects I've done for school or SQL projects I've done for accelerator program into my LinkedIn if the project I was doing was a project based on a small business data in collaboration with that business, would I list it as a school project, or would I say I did it with that business? I guess I would say if the project was done under the supervision of a course or a professor at the institution, it would be your institution, I think. At the end of the day, if you're working on a data project with a business, ask them what you can and cannot say on the website. Ask them what you can and cannot say in the interview. And so sometimes you may have to get clearance to be able to tell the story about what projects you worked on. And you may want to have that information up front. What can I say when I do this work? How should I put this on LinkedIn? So just ask them, how should I put this on the resume? Either ask your professor or the business. I don't know, Pamela, if you have anything to add on that.
I think that's perfectly said. And then I think if you do get permission and you did do it during a class period time, but you're also doing it for a company, it doesn't hurt to put it in both places. So you can absolutely, put it as part of your job description for a certain experience that you're including, and then absolutely can put it on your LinkedIn later on the page as well.
Perfect. And then two people asked a similar question. It says, a recent grad, MS in data analytics and former 5 years experience in software engineering, how do I make my resume shortlisted for data jobs? And then also on the other end, it says, I have 2 masters in computer engineering and data science with some contract tech roles, but I struggle with even landing interviews for my role despite many industry people complimenting my resume and website. What more should I do? Network. People make decisions on who gets a job. Who do you know? How do you know them? Do they know you? Network with people. You can't get a job without knowing people. So you actually have to go to conferences, shake hands, talk with people, communicate face to face, pick up a phone and actually call somebody and talk with them. Not an email, not IM, DM, whatever all the M things are, but actually have some person-to-person connection. Because I'll be frank, the job market's tight right now. But if people don't know you, if they don't know who you are, what are you going to do, right? So you got to show up. I have invested in myself to actually fund myself to go to either conferences or, somebody said I dislike calls. You can dislike calls, you can dislike communications. You can also, if somebody else likes calls and actually forms that network, guess what may work? Right? It's not 100%. It just increases a chance of success. So when you think about these things, it's what can I do to increase my likelihood of success? Will it work 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But will it increase the likelihood of success? Networking, people, who knows you, who do you know? Talking with people. Yeah, you got to talk with folks. Because if people don't know who you are and what you even look like, what's going to happen? I don't know. Most of my jobs I got not because I put in a resume, is because I knew somebody and says, hey, what are y'all looking for? Oh, you know what? I could do this, that, and the other. I can bring some sort of business solution or academic solution to what you're doing. I can fit in with what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be what I think it should be. I can flex and flow and provide value. So here's a LinkedIn question, Pamela. It says, would sending a LinkedIn request to recruiters or people in similar roles to the ones we're seeking, would that be helpful? I've tried it. It hasn't worked.
Dr. Washington, I think that this student is right on track with what you just shared in your last piece of advice. And I think that that's so helpful. I think that one thing to consider is when you're writing your in-mail or you're sending your connection request, how is it being framed and how are you asking for that time? And sometimes people are just busy. Just think about one's own inbox and maybe there are emails that we haven't responded to. So oftentimes it's not personal. It's just, someone might be inundated at that particular window. But I do recommend just thinking about, have I made the ask really upfront and center? Am I asking for something that feels reasonable that I would also say yes to? And am I making that connection that we might have really clear? So if there's some reason why they might say yes, have I put that up front right at the beginning? we went to the same school, or we're studying the same thing, or we've done this similar thing, just some sort of connection point. But please keep trying. You're doing a great job. So completely continue, would recommend continuing to reach out.
And I'd say you also have to look at, are you posting any content on LinkedIn that shows that you are a bona fide person and you're serious? You're not just hanging out, you're actually serious. So if you're not posting anything, they may think you're a bot. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile that's actually looks nice and filled in, they may think you're a bot. And so they may not connect with you. Okay, I've done this. I'll sit on my couch and hit connect. Oh, I would like to connect with more people at Microsoft. Let me go to the company, connect. Now, some people may say, who are you? I don't know you. And I'm like, oh, I just don't respond. My bad. It's all good. But then other people will connect. And then guess what? There's some synergy and you never know. So I have actually made so many connections. LinkedIn said, nah, you've hit your weekly limit. So if you haven't hit your weekly limit, well, I can't do anything. I think I'm telling on myself. And I'll just share my screen. I know we're almost at time. Somebody said about communication. My communication guru, and I know there's different philosophies of thought. I like Chris Voss. Chris Voss, he's like a negotiator, worked for the FBI and all the rest of that, right? But one thing that he says with negotiation, if I want or I need is involved, you're in a negotiation. If I want a job, guess what? I'm in a negotiation with them to say, how do I communicate my value? What are the different ways that I can convey myself? So he actually has this whole system of words, that specific words and phrases you can use in negotiations that I find helpful in my everyday. So if you just look at or as they say, search up Chris Voss on YouTube, you'll find a number of his podcasts. He has a lot of free content available. He did not ask me to share this, but I like Chris Voss. What was the military guy? I was listening to him this morning, but he curses a lot, so I don't know if you want to listen to him at all. David Goggins. I like him when I need a motivational, do it. Or Tony Robbins if I need to, attack and get things done. Tony Robbins is great too. But in thinking about communication and negotiating, because we want a job or we want something, or they may want something and you may be in the negotiation. Chris Voss, I'm a fan. So I hope that this information was helpful. It's not a nonlinear path that we're on, but I would say learn, explore, spend time on it. I think somebody said, what is that? One of my colleagues said you're supposed to spend like an hour a day on LinkedIn. I don't know, something ridiculous. But TikTok may not land you the job. LinkedIn may have increased your likelihood. Actually talking with people, having communication, I think will also increase. But it's creating that holistic portfolio. And when you get told no, you could say, okay, what else can I do different? How can I navigate? What else can I do? Because you'll be told no, and you'll do a face plant, and it will be terrible and it will be disappointing. And you may have to take a job that's underneath, and you may have to convince folks that I will still take that job because I can still learn, and this is how and what. And I would love to have the opportunity for this because these are 3 things I can specifically bring for that opportunity. So people really want things tailored either for the company and also for the job role. So do the research. And, a lot of possibilities out there, but it takes work. It's not 100% guarantee, but just keep at it. And, as we say, in Dance to Fit, don't give up. Pamela, I don't know if you have any last thoughts.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to connect with all of you and to also learn from Dr. Washington. I definitely want to double click on the whole concept that careers are not linear. I spent about 8 years of my experience post-undergrad in higher education, and I loved that opportunity. Now working at LinkedIn and see my path likely going back to higher ed at some point. So we don't necessarily have these linear paths. We have opportunities to try new things and unexpected things. So any way that LinkedIn can be helpful, it's a great place to be able to connect with professionals who might be doing things you might want to learn more about. So Dr. Washington, thanks again for having me. And thanks so much, Florence and Emily and Lauren and I hope everyone was able to glean something helpful.
Well, we're
Yeah,
getting
that's great.
rave reviews. You've been wonderful as expected. And so, Talitha, I like to say, instead of saying no, I say not yet. If right, just put a couple more letters on that thing, right? Do you know this person? Not yet. Did you get a job in that? Not yet. And then, like you said, think of the path you could take. And on that note, I'd just like to share my screen for another few seconds. You mentioned, Talitha or Dr. Washington, that people should build their skills, do more networking. We actually have this portfolio and network building group in LinkedIn that anybody, can ask to join. And you can learn more on our website at nebdhdhub.org/PNB, which is Portfolio Network Building -group. And you can join the LinkedIn group. We also have 5 sessions available that have different materials in them for understanding and learning how to do peer networking, resume and interview prep, professional communications, developing a digital portfolio, leadership style development, and you can find them as well there. And you can download the content and run a workshop locally with your friends or your colleagues or at your school or at your company, anywhere. So please take advantage of that. And then if you'd like to build your data science portfolio, we've had many students that have come to us and said, so I go to these job interviews and they say, well, do you have real world data experience? And they said, well, no, I've just gone to college or I've taken a class. And they said, well, you need real world data experience. And they said, but I need a job to get that. They said, but you need that to get the job. And they go, what do we do? So they came to us and we said, we can help you with that. And so Emily Rothenberg actually leads this effort for us, so our data science projects. We have, I think, over 20 of them now, right, Emily? Across all these different types of areas. And why don't you want to mention a couple of words about how they can participate? They're free and open to everyone.
Sure. So yes, these data science projects, especially because a lot of you are asking questions about whether you can get involved in something that allows you to gain experience with real world data. All of these projects use real world data. If you haven't done a project before, if you've done plenty of projects before, these projects can be made for you. They cover a very wide range of topics. A lot of you were talking about your interest in data science and how it interacts with finance or healthcare or sustainability, public policies. These touch all of those different topics and also range in level of difficulty. So again, maybe you don't have as much Python experience right now. We have projects that are low to no code at all. And then if you want to challenge yourself, we have more intermediate and advanced projects also. So at the end of every single project that you complete, you actually gain a virtual certificate endorsed by the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub that you can then add directly to your LinkedIn. You can add those skills to that skills section on your LinkedIn profile, and it has all of our signatures on it as well. So it's a really great professional development opportunity for you all. And yes, all free, open to you 24/7.
Yep, we've had thousands of people participate, professionals and students. So please take advantage of it. We're here for you. And if you'd like to connect with the Hub or the National Student Data Corps, you can go to our website, nebdhdhub.org. You can send an email to contact@nebdhdhub.org, or join our mailing list. Here's a QR code. Follow us on LinkedIn, or we have a Slack channel, and we send out a lot of things on Handshake. That might have been how you found out about this. So, and this effort, and Lauren, I want to thank you very much for putting this whole thing together. If you want to talk a little bit about where they can find the recording, that would be great.
I would love to. Yes, it's been great to chat with everybody here, and I love seeing all the questions that you had in the chat. This is such a great group and a great community. If you're interested in staying in touch with us, which I hope you all are, as you can see, there's a number of different spaces where you can find more information about our upcoming programs. One of the best ways to stay in touch is simply to join our mailing list. This is where you'll get information about what are our upcoming events and programs. Definitely take a look at that space. We've been talking about LinkedIn so much, it kind of goes without saying, but please do follow us on LinkedIn. Slack is a great space for, especially when you're working on some of the projects that Emily was talking about. If you're interested in collaborating, take a look at our NSDC Slack channel. Just for good measure, of course, we're on Twitter or X, YouTube, you all know about because I've been pinging you in the chat about the live stream. And many of you also reached out to us through Handshake. So know that we're always there. And between those spaces, you will find great opportunities and more information about our upcoming events. I also want to plug again the portfolio network building group that Florence mentioned earlier. There's a lot of space in there for you to stay connected to students. A lot of you in the Q&A mentioned that you are not based in the United States. We also have a lot of community members outside the US in that group. So that would be a great way to keep your network growing. Again, thank you all. This was wonderful.
It really was great. And Lauren actually created and leads the portfolio and network building group. So you'll see a lot of her if you look at some of the content in there. And I want to thank her for doing that. And Talitha, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's always great to collaborate with you and for offering people to follow you on LinkedIn and continue to be inspired by your great work. So unless there's anything else, I think we'll let everybody go. We've had hundreds of people join us today, which is very cool. And Talitha will give you a final number after we find, how many, because usually, people come and go. But it was hundreds, so you've made a great impact. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Be well.
Thanks.